Runaway from 2010. Kanye recently dedicated it to Kim Kardashian, his soon-to-be ex-wife. So in Runaway, if you remember the synopsis, he had Mozart playing in the background, which, if you look up the song, is very telling in itself. Now, it also shows a phoenix, right? It appears it's half woman, half phoenix. It comes down to earth in a meteorite, right? And then he tries to get this woman, Phoenix, to stay on Earth and stay with him. But if she were to do so, she would turn into a pillar of salt. She wouldn't be able to burn and, die and then be reborn. So what's the message? Or what's the message within the message?
I need you to run right back to me, baby. I need you to run back to me, baby. I need you to run right back to me, baby. I need you to run right back to me, baby. I need you to run right back to me, baby. I need you to run right back, baby. More specifically, Kimberly.
The bird phoenix is an object of praise by men since the beginning of civilization. The magnificent animal is found in the Persian, Egyptian, Greco-Roman, and Jewish mythologies, among others. The phoenix is a bird with red and yellow feathers, usually depicted as a bird of prey, but can also be seen as a flaming peacock. The bird is a powerful animal. Even though it is portrayed as having the size of many eagles, the creature can fly, even with elephants in its claws. Its tears were another power of this animal, since they had the ability to heal any wound or illness. The phoenix could also cover its body with fire, so when it flew in flames in the middle of the day, some perceived its brightness as being the sun itself. But the main reason for such praise of this animal is its immortality. According to Hesiod, the bird lived 9 times longer than a crow, something around 500 years. And when it realized that its end was near, the phoenix made a nest of cinnamon, sage, and myrrh and burned itself, leaving only ashes behind. From the pile of ashes, a new phoenix was born, one that gathered the remaining ashes of the bird that preceded it, placed them in an egg of myrrh, which was taken to Egypt, to the city of Heliopolis, and placed on the altar of the sun, that its ashes could bring the dead back to life. The phoenix's myth of immortality was so powerful that the young and eccentric Roman emperor Elagabalus wanted to eat a phoenix to become immortal. His servants looked for the animal and could not find anything. To avoid coming back empty-handed, they served the emperor with a bird of paradise. Nonetheless, the meat of the bird of paradise does not provide the power of immortality, taking into account that the ruler was killed by the Praetorian Guard only 2 years after eating the delicacy. The myth of the phoenix may have weakened in terms of importance during some periods of our history, but like the mythical bird, its symbolism has always managed to be renewed. In our pop culture, we can see the bird in works like Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. The phoenix is up to this day a universal symbol of rebirth and the beginning of a new cycle.
Harry?
Professor, your bird, there was nothing I could do. He just caught fire.
Oh, and about time, too. He's been looking dreadful for days. Pity you had to see him on a burning day. Folks, it's a phoenix, Harry. They burst into flame when it is time for them to die, and then they are reborn from the ashes. Fascinating creatures, phoenixes. They can carry immensely
heavy loads and their tears of healing powers.
Operation Phoenix. Doesn't that still mean like death? Sure, but the joke's on them because we just found a back door to getting off this rock.
Rerouted. 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 Rerouted.
Oh my fucking god! Come on, Morty, we gotta go.
In November 1969, an event was reported which shocked America. In a village called My Lai, a company of American soldiers had massacred 347 villagers, including women and children. What was not made public was the role of the CIA's Operation Phoenix, which was responsible for telling the American patrol that My Lai was a Viet Cong village. The wave of public revulsion over My Lai helped create the political mood in America which hastened the end of the war. But the CIA was to be involved in another episode which also profoundly shocked America. That fatal slip, which seems almost trivial in the context of its past, was the agency's involvement through Richard Nixon with Watergate.
One of the causes of the downfall of Richard Nixon is that he saw this thing at his right hand, which was an instrument for deceit. And he thought, he had a brilliant idea. He thought, why not use it domestically? I've got some problems right here at home, and here's something that was built to take care of foreign enemies. Let's take care of my domestic ones, too.
History came back to haunt Richard Nixon and the CIA in the person of Howard Hunt, a former CIA agent and an architect of the disastrous invasion of Cuba in 1961. In 1972, Hunt was found to have masterminded the Watergate burglary for Nixon using CIA veterans from Cuba and CIA equipment.
What general assistance did you get from the CIA relating to Watergate?
No direct assistance at all. There were some documents, items of disguise that the men used when they actually made the entry into the Watergate premises.
And these were given to you by the CIA?
That had been provided by the CIA to the White House.
And you also visited the CIA headquarters many times?
In connection with a prior operation, that is to say the West Coast operation.
Watergate forced the resignation of Richard Nixon and Howard Hunt was jailed. But the CIA didn't escape the remorseless process of investigation which was set in train. Late last year, the post-Watergate insistence on open government unearthed another damaging episode. The CIA had secretly backed the forces which brought down the left-wing government of President Allende in Chile in 1973. The CIA successfully financed Allende's opponents for 15 years, but in 1970 they miscalculated his support and did little to help the opposition. Allende, a Marxist, won by a small majority in a democratic election. Secretary of State Kissinger was disturbed. With President Nixon's agreement, he ordered an economic freeze on Chile. The CIA also went into action behind the scenes, and in the next 3 years, millions of dollars were spent in efforts to undermine Allende. But before these facts came out, Richard Helms, the CIA's director during the Chile campaign, had testified on oath before Congress that the agency played no part in Allende's downfall.
When he stood up before the Senate to testify, he was asked certain questions about his operations in Chile. He was asked, did you spend any money to overthrow the Allende government? And he said, no, sir. He asked if he had conducted any covert activities against the Allende government, and he said, no, sir. And for that, he probably, in the post-Watergate era, will be indicted for perjury. That's a decision we'll learn about in a few weeks. Because shortly after he had made that statement, his predecessor, Colby, went up to Congress and told him the truth.
How did this come about, this turnaround in policy?
Watergate. Richard Helms is going by the old CIA tradition, which is that, if necessary, the director will openly lie.
CIA's involvement in covert action.
In the post-Watergate atmosphere, even Secret Services aren't allowed secrets. William Colby, the new director of the CIA, had told a congressional committee in strictest confidence how the agency had indeed spent $8 million financing opposition to Allende. So enraged was Congressman Michael Harrington that he leaked Colby's secret testimony to the press and exposed the earlier deception.
I went in prepared to accept the ground rules of secrecy, but it was obviously at such pronounced variance with what both I had believed and what the American public had been told. I think it was very important, and still do, that in some fashion, preferably without the distraction of how it was released, to get the American public to understand what we did in the context of a country like Chile, not in the mid-50s, but in the early 1970s.
The secret information